So now we're in Hal's backyard, and now we're going to do large stock tanks. Thanks so much for having us in your backyard.
Oh, thank you for coming out.
Kind of describe the environment we have.
Well, this is on the south side of our house, and you can see it's near the chimney, near a border fence. So it's really an unusual and unusable area. And our kitchen's right here, so ideally we can come out to pick things for dinner or for whatever meal we're preparing.
Well, and the galvanized tanks, I think, even make this area look somewhat attractive. Kind of fills the space nicely.
It really does.
So we've prepped the first tank already. Keith came in here, stabbed it with some holes. And since we're on gravel, we don't have to worry about it being able to drain out correctly. Now, if you're on a solid concrete pad or maybe you're on solid ground, you may want to punch holes on the side to make sure things drained out correctly. Otherwise, you might want to put a rock layer at the bottom just to make sure that the water drains out easily and doesn't start to pool inside the container. And we've also laid down some weed barrier to keep all the soil inside the container. So we've prepped this one, it's ready to go. We've added soil to this one. We've done the holes and we've added soil. How many big bags did it take?
About 9 big bags.
Well, and what's nice to know is we've used the Miracle-Gro potting mix, which is ideal and important because it doesn't make sense to spend the time, the effort to do all of this if the foundation soil isn't done well. You could also use something like a moisture mix to help it retain more moisture. Or for a new organic option, we have the Expand and Grow. And actually, this bag, when wet, makes as much soil in this big bag.
Really?
So you have some different options to play with. It's time to get our hands dirty. You good with that?
I think so.
All right, so let's get these out of here and we'll get this all planted.
All right.
We've got to go ahead and design this bed now to make sure that we take advantage of where the sun is and take into account the things that are going to get really tall. So things like tomatoes we're going to want to put towards the back. And the tomatoes really love all the heat from this brick, and the soil should stay nice and warm in the evening as well, which will really make these tomatoes thrive. Some of the plants that would work really well in the front, we'll kind of work our way front to back, is if you want to grab those strawberries, that'll make it really attractive because they'll go along the front and they'll bloom and trail over the side. I also like the idea of adding some violas along here because it'll make the container really attractive.
Sure.
And these are actually edible, so they're beautiful inside there. See, I knew help would come.
I heard you need somebody that knows what they're doing.
You're funny. So now if you want to grab the some of the herbs out of there, we'll lay out our herbs first. And the best part of this is all of these plants today, Tagawa Garden Center was gracious enough to give us the plants that we needed to plant these planters.
Oh, thank you.
They love us. Well, they love me, so all the plants are free. And Hal, as you're doing your container, and if you find you have some holes and you want some additional ideas of what you can be planting, most of the garden centers like Tagawa's will have a care sheet or an informational sheet that'll give you all sorts of ideas of the things that you can go ahead and plant into the garden. So, and then on some of this space, things like squash, you can go ahead and plant some of those seeds around here on this back side where they'd have plenty of space to grow over the edge and around the garden. And you can add things like radishes and cucumbers even, where they have more space, and just plant those on the edge and they'll have plenty of room to trail. They'll probably cover all of this rock.
We've got everything planted now. In terms of care, in terms of water?
Well, while the plants are young, they're going to not require as much water. So you want to be careful not to overwater the bed, and using something like a nice liquid fertilizer like the Miracle-Gro liquid feed works well to go ahead and fertilize the young plants. Plus, you could go ahead and add something like an Osmocote time-release fertilizer to make sure they get a nice, even fertilization as the season progresses. What was your inspiration for having these big raised gardens?
Well, we tried it on the other side of the house, and this neighborhood is just full of bunnies. And they'd come and they'd eat everything. So by having this up 2 feet high.
Now it makes sense why we have some nice raised gardens. The bunnies will not be able to get to this. So you are good to go. This looks absolutely amazing. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Meanwhile, I'm going to catch up with my buddy Keith. Coming up next, he is fixing sprinkler systems.